I'm going to be writing a short novel, no more than probably about 6 chapters, and it's about Livingstone. If you go rewatch The Battle with Me and Livingstone, it's a story about how this kid from the internet, literally, was so many levels below me, and I was competing with the top tiers, but none of the top tiers gave me validation. What they did was they created a storyline for me to follow in order to me to not know where I stood. Like, they would manipulate the situation and make me think I was less than what I was, using a whole bunch of reverse psychology. He saw me compete with top tiers, but they formulated a plan to where they used him as an example to the point where I'll always stay the same. Even though I beat him in the first season, even though I competed with the high tiers, they said I got clobbered by the high tiers. But even though I was lower ranks than them, they didn't give me the perspective of, yo, he came at a high tier hard as fuck. They tried to say that the high tiers only beat me in their base form, and they weren't actually trying to beat me. Like, they didn't actually go Super Saiyan to try. And literally, if you actually watch the battles, it's the exact opposite. So what they did was they kept on saying, well, every time you prove yourself, you lose to a high tier. That's why we're pairing you up against low tier. How come every time I'm paired up against a low tier or mid tier, you try to manipulate the situation? Like, one of them stole my bars from the library, and they're like, oh, this is through the internet. There's no way that he can prove us wrong. There's no way that he can catch us stealing his bars, so we can always put this wool over his head that he's a fucking retard, that this and that literally, he'll always be low tier, because even when we give him the opportunity, we're going to manipulate the situation. We're going to keep him running gag no matter what. So they used him as an example, and the best way they used him as an example is literally, what happened was this. So the story for a short summary goes like this. I used to be a little square. I used to literally have a squeaky voice, but there was this one time where I got at the highest tier, the top tier contender named Philly, and I had help from several high tiers, and we were texting during the chat. So the same thing happened to me, and I roasted the fuck out of Philly, but I needed help from 2 other people. So what happened is Livingstone got help from 2 other people, and one of them was Philly, and then the same thing that happened to Philly happened to me, and that's what you call karma. But he's trying to say that, no, you stay the same again. No, you don't have a positive attitude. Yo, you don't know how to live life. When the going gets tough, you gotta get tougher. When in reality, it's just a whole bunch of kids online talking shit. But that is the story, a short summary between me and Livingstone. And what inspired me to make the short novel is he takes that one time where he roasted me as an example as our whole timeline. I'm like, nope. You lost to me in the first season. You literally did not do as good against Soul Glow as I did. There's so many other examples to show that not only am I better than you in real life, I was always better in the ARO. And literally, there's so many angles I can come at him with, but I let him keep that because I know what the ARO is by now. I used to think it was a shit, but now that I actually learned how to rap, now that I actually learned how to freestyle, it isn't shit. There are a bunch of people who are hiding from who they are online. I became a cosplay superstar. I became everything better in real life, and Livingstone can always use that chat as a private party to literally fucking say that, oh, yo, we get to, it doesn't matter how smart he is, we're going to disagree with him. But in reality, they just don't want me to be dominant in a situation. They want me to have just as much fun, but they want me to make decisions. Because what they want is they want the league to stay enclosed. So how does this tie into a short novel? So I'll put it like this. Livingstone got ego from roasting me one time, and he feels like he can hold that against me for life. Even though I told him, even though I showed him, even though I give him multiple examples of why he can never amount to me. So what happens is, in the short novel, he becomes my butler. So he's just an envious little kid in the fucking show. So Livingstone is my butler in the short novel, and it's based off Big O. And the reason why is because he had a cold style. He had an actually unique style that I fucked with, and literally, he had a lot of potential, but he wasted it. He's trying to hold on to a grudge. So I took the grudge that he holds on to real life, and I put it in the novel. So in the show, I'm this Batman-like figure, and he is my butler. And so the real reason why this is a really good story is to show that, Stone, you only caught me off guard one time. You are the student and I am the master. And that's the theme throughout the entire show. What it is, it's a butler that's hella jealous of Batman and literally tries to do every fucking thing to try to catch Batman off guard, to try to destroy him when he's already dealing with stress from fighting villains outside. And literally, the Batman still keeps his calm, and Batman still literally accepts him as a butler every single day. So literally, so every fucking episode, there'll be no more like freaking 6 episodes, is literally Batman telling him over and over again, he's like, I've already experienced that, man. You don't have to do that. So I'll put it like this. There's this one episode where literally Stone tries to cut off Batman's hand. And Lily, so it's not actually Batman, but it's based off Batman and his butler. What if his butler was Stone? Or what if he was just a jealous guy who never backed it up with his actions and literally tried their most elaborate scheme? You see, what happened is he's in a pretty good standing where he doesn't have to take a risk. So he keeps on taking advantage of the fact that Batman's a superhero, but he keeps on forgetting that he's a superhero for a reason. And he's trying to dumb down the feats that he's made by literally do crazy shit. So then this one episode, literally, after Batman comes from fighting crime, Stone offers him a drink, and literally, he crushes the glass on his hand. And he's like, come on, Stone. And literally, his hand is cut up in blood and stuff like that. And Stone's like, why aren't you scared? He's like, Stone, all I have to do is get stitches. I fight 10 times worse bad guys every day. I don't need you hurting yourself thinking you can beat me. Literally, he tries little trinkets like that every single day, and Batman still keeps his calm. It's like, you're my butler. It's okay because you're like one of the kids of mine. I'm handling the situation in a way to tell you you cannot hurt me because I'm 1,000 times stronger. And so at the end of the series, he shows Stone that the reason why none of his ideas ever work is because he's stronger, and that is it. You can't argue, you can't do this and that, and that is why you're a butler, and that's why I am the superhero. And Lily, so that is what it's based off of. So Lily, what happens is at the end, Batman drove Stone to the side, and he tries to tell him that I know the game you play, it never works for me because villains try to do it every single day, and I surpass it. So literally, it goes like this. So it comes down. So you want to settle this fair and square, Stone? So Lily, so what happens is Batman draws the butler and he's like, I'll give you a hand-to-hand combat with one stimulation because he's a genius, right? So he stimulates this room where him and Stone finally fight one-on-one. And so instead of actually fighting fair and square, at the end of the novel, what Batman does is instead of actually fighting, when Stone goes to fight him, he steps to the side and he pushes the button and he puts Stone 1,000 times under the gravity. And he's like, I can play cheap if I want to. But no, it's because I did a Resultros thing is why I became a superhero. Yeah, I may have tons of distress, but at least it's all worth it for what I do on the outside and what I do for people. And that is the emotional speech he leaves off for the butler.